Murph gets transported into space. Nandi nibbles on some tube grubs. And Dal outcons a con artist. Hey, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
And also special co-host, Bonnie Gordon.
That's me.
Damn it. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and I should go before Bonnie so my mic doesn't sound crappy after hers.
Hello, it's Bonnie. Let's talk Star Trek.
Yeah, so today we're doing a review of Prodigy's Season 1, Episode 7, First Con-Tact, directed by Steve Ahn and written by, we think, Deandra P.T. Get more information on that soon.
Yes, her Twitter handle is at Deandra Writes. She's fabulous. That's
Deandra Fabulous P.T.
Deandra Fabulous P.T.
How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Doing good. Yeah. Doing good.
Doing great. 2022. We're hitting it. You know, I particularly loved this episode because my solo album is called Con Artist, and I was like, yes. It's all
but a different
coming in.
A different play on the word con rather than this is Con-Tact as in, you know, a con artist. You are using the con artist term, but a play on words with convention, I would
with
guess.
A Comic-Con. Exactly. So, but it all comes full circle. Nice. It's all a conundrum.
A confluence of never mind.
Yeah.
Before we get
congregation of wordplay.
Everybody in the live chat, go ahead and throw your con wordplay now. We do want to point out very quickly before we get started that Cirroc Lofton is wearing a freaking amazing old school 80s WrestleMania shirt.
Oh, yeah, I'm representing for the old school days. You remember these guys, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, dig it.
Yeah.
Takes me back to my wrestling training days, which I never thought I would ever say out loud. You know?
Wow. Wrestling training?
Yeah.
Yes. Let's hear more about that while everybody discusses that Randy Macho Man's Savage's brother was actually Leaping Lanny Poffo. Nobody really realized that in wrestling. Yeah, his brother was kind of a wrestler. Anyway, you were training to be a wrestler, Bonnie.
I was. It was very strange. So before COVID, the Netflix show Glow was so popular that the creator of the original Glow decided he wanted to try and bring it back in its former glory, but make it more like comedy and sketches with a little less of the live wrestling, but still we had to wrestle. And I went, for some reason, I randomly went to this audition, not knowing what I was getting myself into. I was probably one of the least physically fit girls there. There was a lot of dancers and gymnasts and whatnot, but they cast me as the nerd character. For anyone familiar with the original Glow, it would be kind of like I think her name was Zelda, the nerd girl.
Perfect.
But she was like epic nerd, not like the sexy British nerd that they had in the Netflix show. And my character name was Savant. And I was really good at like getting my pigtails grabbed and flipped. I was learning some pretty cool moves. I can flip and like land on my back and like do some crazy stuff, jump from the top of the ring and whatnot. I mean, it's been a while since I've done that now, since COVID put a stop to all the training, but it was definitely fun. And, you know, I definitely learned some skills that I never thought I would learn. And I had my rap, you know, how in the intro, all the girls rap their intro, and mine was it's true, I'm not a debutante. I use my brains. I'm savant. With the help of my trusty protractor, I'll calculate the winning factor. It was so weird. It was so weird.
I get it. So that's an intro into your character. We get it. You're like the person that would figure out the way to win.
Yeah.
But here's the
as we'd be insulting each other in that we'd like be improvising. We'd have to improvise a lot during rehearsals, and we'd be improvising, and they'd be like, you know, throwing insults at me, and my whole thing was like, actually, and I would like twist it around where their insult was actually a compliment, like, the girl who was playing the Russian was like, "You are like tiny little cockroach," and I was like, actually, cockroaches are extremely resilient and would survive a nuclear apocalypse. You know, I was like going on, and I was like, "Okay, Bonnie, you need to stop." And I was like, actually, my PowerPoint. You know, it was fun. It was ridiculous.
So real quick, and we're going to get into Prodigy.
Sorry,
sure,
we should probably get into Star Trek.
But very quickly, when you say your name was Savant, I know everybody's thinking, what was her finishing move? Was it like the brain buster or the brain tease or the smart ass?
It's funny is I was trying to come up with different ones. I wanted to do something like the protractor, where like I would like put my hand down and do like a move where like my leg would go under, you know, almost like doing an angle thing. What else did we do? We came up with some weird things. I was actually the one coming up with a lot of names for other girls' moves, because a lot of them came from like dancer, gymnasts, of, you know, backgrounds, but were not like improv and comedy actors per se. So that was my strong suit. I was not the physical one. I was like the comedy one. So I was helping a lot of the girls come up with like funny bits and like things for their characters while we were in rehearsals. It was a lot of fun. Very strange. And trying to explain it to people, like, "Oh, what are you doing on Tuesday?" I'm like, "I'm in a wrestling ring getting flipped around. No big deal." Like, it was
the Venn diagram of wrestling fans and Star Trek fans. I don't know how big that centerpiece is, but we're about to find out. Let's talk about.
I did want to do this as my when I stood up on the ring and like did my thing. I was going to do the Vulcan salute as my like.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna make Star Trek references and as my thing if I could get away with it. Anyway, moving on to Prodigy. Actually, let's move on to why we're here.
Cirroc, what did you think of this episode on first glance?
Well, I thought it was good. On first glance, you know, I said the last episode was one of the episodes that I thought really reeled me in as a viewer, and kind of, you know, was giving me the anticipation for what was to come. And so now, as we're getting into what was to come, I enjoyed it a lot. I've kind of found myself bought onto the characters. And to the adventure that they're going on, and there's just a lot of things that I think they're doing very well in this show. I feel like the pace is good. I feel like the voiceover actors are great. Dal is really leading this show in a great way. And
he's growing so much as a character. You know, I think a lot of people were really turned off by his like cocky attitude in the beginning. And I feel like now we're starting to understand a little bit of where his arrogance comes from and his selfishness comes from. And it's really interesting to see.
You know, I think that in this episode, it really showed to me, it reiterated why animated shows have so much freedom. In an animated show, you're just able to do way more things. Like, you don't have to just slap a piece of something on someone's forehead and be like, that's the alien of the week. You can get as creative as you want. You could go totally nuts. And it doesn't have to just be like humanoid aliens. You can create these kind of, you know, floaty, frilly, whatever kind of alien that was, sand swirling around, all that. You could get as creative and as magical and as mystical as you want. And it basically costs the same as if you just had, you know, a Klingon walk in. Whereas in live action, it's a totally different price range. Anyway, but what the main thing is that confluence of the effects, you know, like the visuals, the stunning visuals, and the freaking gorgeous music put together when they're arriving on this planet, when they're walking through, when they're in the interior of that whatever sand spire thing was. To me, that was by far the most memorable part of this episode. And that's something that 20 years from now, even if I never watch this episode a second time, 20 years from now, I will remember this because of that. And I thought it was just beautifully done.
I loved, as a musician and singer, I loved that the language that the aliens spoke with were harmonics and actual like music. You know, there's always this thing with, you know, musicians and people in the music industry that music is kind of like a universal language. Doesn't matter if you don't speak the language that the lyrics are in, you know, you can always understand the message behind music. And that's a lot of instrumentals as well. So I kind of liked how that was a message within the episode of, you know, these beings speak through music and through harmonics and, you know, and they create using music, which I thought was kind of a beautiful thing to convey, especially that Gwen was able to figure it out using the harmonics, you know, of their tricorders and whatnot. Thought that was really cool.
Yeah, you guys are all talking about the same things. I made notes of. The music was kind of spectacular. I put music A+. There were moments of mystery where you felt the mystery of the moments, you felt the action adventure, and it was all complemented so well with the visual effects, which I also thought was fantastic. I liked the way that the ship looked when they went into the moments of the flashback of Chakotay and Janeway. And they had the flashback of the ship and what they're going through, and she, computer freeze the screen and zoom in 200 times. Like all of the little details I thought were fantastic. I also liked the fact that the storyline with Dal and his past is getting brought back up, and we're digging into who he is, and kind of them going through his stuff and saying, hey, what's this and what's that. I like the backstory, and I really appreciate the way that they are introducing Star Trek to a younger audience by essentially one by one explaining, beaming up something, for example, and transporting something like that. That's a basic thing that we kind of take for granted when we see it. But if you're a brand new viewer, that's something that would kind of need some explanation. And I enjoy the way they are breaking it down in the story as they continue to go along and build on the story. I think it's just this show is really getting better and better.
It's like every episode we learn different technology. Like, the first episode when they're escaping, we learn about the shields on the ship. We learn about the replicators when Janeway explains to them about, the mess hall and how to eat. We learn about, transporters this episode. It's like, we learn about the phasers when they go on the away mission. So it's like every episode, kids are getting introduced to Star Trek technology in a way that is easy to understand. That's a really good point. Yeah.
It's basically like the writers are using the characters to walk the viewers through it. They're introducing it to the characters, but they're basically winking at the audience and saying, "See, that's what this is," and that So we're following along. And you're right. If this is the first thing that some children are being introduced to, then they don't want it all just piled on. Although there was one moment that something Gwen was saying where I was like, oh boy, now they're getting introduced to Trekno-babble here. They said something where I was like, if I don't know what she's saying, I don't know if a 7-year-old will. But that's kind of like the School of Hard Knocks when you're watching Star Trek. You're just going to have to, sometimes you don't fully understand something, but you're like, you got to just trust Geordi knows what he's talking about.
Exactly. Like half the techno-bobble they would talk about on Star Trek, watching it, I would never understand what they were saying, but I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Of course the polarized, crystals of the shield, like, I was like, yeah, of course that makes sense. Just go with it. Yeah. Except that they know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
The chimerium powers the cloaking device. I mean, of course. Who else?
Of course it does. Yeah.
Chimerium is an essential ingredient. I mean,
chimerium. Yeah, we're gonna.
So,
did you say the polka device? Because that's what I heard.
No, the cloaking device.
Oh, okay. I heard the polka device, and I was like, okay, if you want a device that creates a polka. When I say music is the universal language, I don't think polka was included in it.
Not a polka device. No.
Cloaking. Got it.
But no, I actually like the fact that they brought in the Ferengi in this episode too.
And a female.
A female Ferengi who was up to, Ferengi business, and they brought in the rules of acquisition, which are very important and meaningful for us here personally because of our seventh rule attachment. But I love the rules of acquisition. I love this Ferengi character as well. I thought that was another thing that they got right.
You know what's so incredible too? So the Ferengi character is played by Gray Griffin, who's actually a really good friend of mine. And so it just goes to show in animation when, you know, when recording separately, and also like when I recorded this, I wasn't in this episode. I don't know if you noticed, the computer doesn't have any lines in this episode. So I did get to read this episode because I was doing Scratch, I think, for Gwen and Janeway at this time. But they hadn't had a cast for that character yet. They hadn't cast the Ferengi character yet. So I had no idea who was going to be playing her. And now flash forward, you know, to the episode being released, and I see Gray's name on it, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Because Gray and I are actually really good friends. And what's so funny is on the day I went into Nickelodeon Studios for the callback for Gwen, Gray Griffin was there for recording something else for Nickelodeon. She does so many different voices for everything. If you look on her IMDb, you'd be blown away by everything she does. But she was at Nickelodeon and she saw me and she was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? And I like snuck her a sneak peek of the script that I was reading for the callback. And I was like, I'm up for this. And she was like, oh my gosh. And she knew how much I loved Star Trek. She was so excited for me. And whenever I was announcing things, she was so excited. So the fact that she kept this secret from me for I don't even know how long cracks me up, because I was like, you're in the show. And she's like, I know, I was going to like tell you. And then I forgot. And I was like, you forgot. Yeah. So it's so cool that it's such a small world sometimes, but I'm so glad that they got her. She's incredible. She can do any voice, every voice. And I felt like she did such a good job.
You saying we should look her up. Of course, that bought me a few seconds to look her up.
Yeah.
Star Wars Detours, Scooby-Doo, and Guess Who?
She's Daphne in Scooby-Doo. Wow. She did the voice of Wonder Woman. DC she's in everything.
Superhero Girls, Wonder Woman, The Simpsons, Maya and the Three. That was something we just saw the other day. Was in the top 10 of animated series in 2021. Robot
she's
Chicken.
Everything.
Okay, now I get it. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. She was Evil Lynn. Okay. All right, now we officially like her.
We worked together. There was a cartoon I did on Cartoon Network called Mighty Magiswords, and she was the lead character on that. And I played a whole bunch of different characters throughout the 2 seasons. So whenever she and I got into a booth together, we would definitely cut up and have a great time. And she's actually going to be doing a duet with me on my solo album as well. So again, Gray and I are really great friends, and I could not believe she kept this so secret. And I'm just so excited that I get to be on a show with her, because not only is she a friend, but I look up to her so much, and her voiceover career is something that I hopefully can, aspire to be even close to.
I've scrolled through like 50 things, and I just realized I'm still at 2019. Wow.
Yeah,
she's just in the last 2 years.
She is unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
and she's a riot. So follow her on social media, because some of her posts are the funniest things. I mean, I laugh out loud when I read her stuff. So she's a very talented singer. I can just go on and on. I'll just brag about her. But anyway, she's fabulous. And Gray, if you're watching, how dare you not tell me that you were in this episode?
So you guys, you mentioned the rules of acquisition, by the way. And Cirroc, how cool is it that we saw a Ferengi, right? I mean, this is like, it's like we're back home when we see a Ferengi, kind of, right? But
exactly.
I heard there were 3 rules of acquisition, but I only caught 2. How did I miss one? I got the rule of acquisition number 1. Which is once you have their money, never give it back. Yeah, that's what it is. And then I got rule of acquisition 21. Where is that? There it is.
Never place friendship above profit.
Right, but there's a third one.
There was another one.
Sometimes the only thing more dangerous than a question is an answer. That was the other one.
Very nice.
Number 208.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. I was about to say it was a lot. It was one from way back in the book.
Yeah. I love that.
I need to get a book of the acquisitions. I need to get one of those.
I love. Yeah,
I have one.
You do? I need to get
by
one.
Armin Shimmerman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That it was a great callback to bring that in there. I loved the fact that, you know, once they revealed this Ferengi captain that raised Dal, I thought it was like, oh, okay, this is about to really get interesting, and I know some conning is about to go on, so I was just looking forward to it. Hence the name, and they gave me what I desired. I loved the you know, you mentioned earlier about the sandstorm. I thought that was like, I was just like, wow, visually this looks fantastic, and you know, almost like motion picture quality. I don't know why I say that over and over again when I watch this show, but there's a level of motion picture quality, which means essentially high budget and long and more hours dedicated to it. So it looks as if it was that quality.
Yeah, like you could watch it on the big screen and it wouldn't lose anything.
Like in a movie theater and just be like blown away. And I wish we could watch it on a large screen like that, especially with the music that is included, because the composing.
Just sit really close to your computer.
I know, right? Just like get really close.
I love the line where we heard "sand is dancing," you know.
Yeah.
And it really felt like the sand was dancing. The clothes on the Ferengi I thought were like immaculate. It was like, did Bob Blackmon draw this clothes on him? Because
Look at
it was that detailed. And they captured the shimmery and the fabrics. It just looked like the Ferengi, and they pulled it off to me in many ways, including the Ferengi ship that Nandi eventually got into and took off, or whatever ship that was. I thought that ship looked really cool.
That was a Ferengi Marauder. I mean, as soon as, you know, Star Trek fans that especially watch Next Generation, as soon as that ship shows up, you're like, a Ferengi Marauder, awesome. But I was like, what the heck? That is a big ship, as evidenced by all the tiny little windows you see in there. And I'm like, that's all hers? And if it is all hers, why does she have all the lights on?
That is going to be a huge electric bill.
So I was wondering if she has like a crew and they're just kind of doing their own thing, or if she just has this gigantic Ferengi Marauder that she's just that cool and that smart that she can run everything. I think Bonnie might know the answer.
Well, I mean, it did seem like she was by herself with that little like robotic helper. You know, basically when she confesses to Dal that she sold him and got like a better partner, I guess I should say, which would be the little box,
the floating
creature,
cube thing,
the floating cube thing. You know, it just, to me, it seemed like she was basically saying like she's on her own, doing her own thing, which by the way, how cool is that it's a female Ferengi captaining her own ship
in clothing
and in clothing, but it just shows how far that, you know, we've come in the timeline, you know, now that, you know, after DS9, where they're actually like having, you know, giving more rights to the female Ferengi. And now we're fast forward to this moment in time in the timeline. Now you're seeing it actually come to fruition that, women are kicking butt and taking names as well.
Or beyond that. But yeah, I mean, probably a lot of credit goes to Ishka and, you know, her trailblazing ways, and Ram and Lita, of course.
Of course.
But the way Nandi is portrayed here, it seems like whether they gave it to her or not, she would just take it. Like she doesn't see, you know, she's the kind of person that's just like, I'm going to do whatever I want, and I don't care, you know, who thinks what of it, including having a Horrigon statue. Don't think I missed that, you guys.
Yes, I saw that.
Children's show with a Horrigon statue. Cirroc, did you remember what the Horrigon statue is? That's the thing that they take to Ryza. That means that they're looking for Jamaharan, which means Jamaharan.
Getting, you know, action on Ryza.
Back there. Was it back there somewhere?
Yeah, I saw it when she was like mad at the end, and she like flings something, and a Horrigon statue goes. I was like, you guys snuck it. This girl, this is a naughty Ferengi girl that likes to go to Ryza and have her way with things.
In the Star Trek RPG show that I recently finished, I played the chief medical officer who was a, half Cation, half Kazinti. And they went to Ryza on an away mission one time, and they all got the statues like as souvenirs for some reason. It was like a joke. and I put it on my desk, and it's how I test people's reflexes in the medical bay, as I would throw things at them to test their reflexes. I was a very non-conventional medical officer, to put it that way. But I just remember, like, when I saw that in the episode, I went, someone's getting their reflexes tested.
Reflex test.
So
yeah,
here's
like to break things.
Cirroc, to refresh your memory. This is what the Horrigon statue looks like here. This thing. And
look how many there are for sale. Oh no. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well,
I feel like I need to buy one, but I don't.
Yeah, I used to watch those videos back in the day. Horrigon Wild. Is that what it's called? No, sorry.
No.
That's okay. I like it anyway. I've made
Horrible
worse jokes. Like when I saw two squirrels humping, I said, "Hey, squirrels gone wild." But I got a chuckle out of that, I think.
Yeah, that's all you get. But no, that's it. I actually really felt for Dal in that moment too, when it was revealed that he was sold into slavery. It kind of was like it was a big letdown moment for him, or kind of a revelation for him and his character, and another moment of growth, another moment of kind of leading to the fact that this group of guys, these characters, are all in it together, right? I think they made that reference when Dal said, how could my my mother or somebody, how can somebody do that to me? And then Gwen's answer was like, well, then my father did that to me. So they basically understood that they shared the same level of abandonment, right? Which is going to, I think, obviously build their chemistry, and it lets them know that essentially, they are all they each other have at this point. So the bonding, the door for bonding is there. I think it's very elegant in the way that they're presenting it. It feels elegant. It feels connected emotionally. They had the compassion for this alien encounter that they had with these crystal sand people, and so
Tusken Raiders.
I just like the sensitivity. I like the pace, the tempo, the quality.
Yeah.
They're knocking it out of the park in pretty much every metric that I can think of, and even going through the emotional journey, the spiritual journey. We're even seeing Janeway's development as she's starting to kind of trying to process what happened. And so you're seeing all of the characters get a lot of growth, in my opinion.
Can I point out, to jump on what you're saying, Cirroc, one other metric that I kind of, I can't help but compare things I see in new Star Trek with things I've seen in old Star Trek. And there was also one other thing. There's symbology as well. Like, there's just one line, but when Dal finds out that he wasn't kidnapped, he was sold as if he's a piece of property. I felt like that was also a very powerful and symbolic moment. Like, that's not the whole storyline. They pepper it in, but that's a very important moment. And to me, it's something that it's reminiscent of something we've brought up a bunch of times before, of when Captain Sisko, Commander Sisko at the time, climbs back into that box on that weird planet. Now, it was all within the confines of that episode, but we all know what that symbology meant and why it's powerful. And there was a lot to that. And just like in that episode, in this episode, it's going to have future implications and ramifications, and it's going to kind of stick with Dal's character, I'm guessing. But I wanted to make sure that didn't go unnoticed, because we do notice that kind of stuff, and it's smartly put in there, and it's a powerful moment.
Another thing I want to bring to y'all's attention is that, they keep making the joke that Murph is indestructible. He was outside of the ship, sliding down in space, and was completely fine from the temperature, from everything. So, and the fact that he also, ate torpedoes and was fine the last episode. It's amazing that I think Murph is probably one of the most interesting characters that, it's kind of put off to the side because we don't really know much about them. But it's so fascinating to me that, they accidentally transported him outside the ship and he was fine.
Right. And not only that, but I heard
okay.
in the deleted scene, after he wiped that window, he came in, he was like, that'll be $2.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the deleted scenes, of course. How could we forget those?
The deleted scenes, yes. No, I think Murph's character is fun. It reminds me of that commercial. Give it to Mikey. He likes it.
It's Murph. He likes it. He'll just try eating anything. Yeah.
Yeah, give it to Murph. Let him try it out.
Nice.
And see if it works on him. I like his character. The Murph character is, obviously it's just like a big teddy bear that you kind of want to have around.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was also cool when they put the comm badge inside of him and it was kind of floating around inside of Murph in this gelatinous state. I thought that was just a fun little
fruit and jello
visual.
Yeah, well, it's not. It won't really stick to him, so they're just like, well, we just gotta put it in him, I guess. And kudos to Dal for being such a fast thinker on using the comm badge on the crystal. Mm-hmm. That was pretty impressive. I loved how they show him actually like kind of not just growing as a person when it comes to like trusting others and listening to the other people in his crew, but it actually does show that he is intelligent. He, in the beginning, all we see him is just being kind of like a careless, selfish, teenager. And now you're actually seeing moments where he's really using his head and he's, making decisions that, are captain level, I would say, are worthy, captain worthy. Yeah. Like he's actually making decisions that are fixing problems.
I agree with your assessment. I'm glad you said that. And I want to just expand on that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's where I believe, I'm eager to watch Dal's growth, because what I'm seeing is somebody who was very intelligent and smart, but used it in a street smart type of way to be a con man and to run with the Ferengi and find ways to trick also and survive. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing that same intelligence or wisdom that was applied for not necessarily good things being applied now for good things, and you can see that the choices that Dal's making are for survival, for the benefit of the group, and for what's right as opposed to what's wrong, and trying to be the best. So it's no longer about trying to trick, manipulate, hustle. His hustle, it was originally just to get out and be free, right? And now that he's free, we're actually seeing him mature and kind of use his smartness and his street smart to decipher and discern situations, which is great for kids out there too. They can also learn how to apply what they know in positive ways as opposed to negative ways, right? You can use your intelligence to figure out how to cheat on a test, or you can use your intelligence to figure out how to prepare for the test.
Exactly. It's like using your smarts in a positive way. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what I like about the growth in Dal's character that we're seeing as well for kids out there who are, maybe on the fence about which way they want to go. I think Dal's showing a positive way. He's showing that, that you can use your street smarts and you can apply them and you can outsmart even people that are trying to trick you.
And it's also showing that you can change. Obviously he was raised doing not so great things. And, it's showing that now he's realizing. He's realizing that was wrong.
The Ferengi Nandi said the ores didn't, like being a slave in the ore mines it didn't work, It
didn't harden you. Yeah.
It didn't harden you enough. It didn't make you more devious. It didn't make you more conniving. Instead, you're like a compassionate, like considerate
what
person.
Is this?
What's wrong with you?
Well, what they say is the people that have been that have gone through trauma or been hurt the most tend to be the ones that are the most empathic or empathetic later on in life.
Mm-hmm.
We do want to take a quick break to go to the free-for-all on the other side, everybody.
Ooh, yay!
So stick around for this very exciting edition of the free-for-all. We want to give a very special thanks to Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, TJ, Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill, Victor, Arucan. That's Bonnie's first Arucan. Yvette Blackmon, Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy, Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Marie Segal, Dr. Mohammed Noor, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, John Mann, Darlena Marie, Rex A. Wood, Joe Balcerati, Tierney C. Diekman, and of course, the legendary Dr. Susan B. Gruner. We'll be right back on the other side on the free-for-all. And until then, always remember the 7th rule and the other 3 they mentioned.
Welcome back to the 7th Rule Free-for-All. Very, very special free-for-all for a Prodigy episode. And we have with us our host, Ryan Husk.
Ryan Husk.
Thank you.
And
Bonnie.
our star, Mr. Cirroc Lofton.
Number 1, Cirroc.
Our very, very special guest, the lovely Bonnie Gordon.
Acknowledged. That is me.
And also special guest, Lawrence at Geek Life Rules.
On the helm, Lawrence at Geek Life Rules.
We have the most special and the most awesome, Malissa Longo.
Woo!
Chief of Security, Malissa Longo.
Dr. Anne-Marie
It's
Segal.
Melissa.
Out in,
Sorry.
it's Melissa.
Melissa Longo.
Okay, get that right.
Lieutenant Commander.
Get it right, computer.
Sorry, there was a virus.
As long as it wasn't a coronavirus.
No.
We have Dr. Anne-Marie Segal out in, I wanted to say the Mediterranean, but it's Manhattan.
Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal. Not that kind of doctor.
Not that kind of doctor.
But
Eve
I am a
Wells
doctor.
out in England.
Communications
I am a
off.
medical doctor.
Oh, well, then good. I didn't know. I just was like, I didn't know.
This is like a really unfair position to put the computer
I
in.
know. I'm just making up things. I'm sorry. Communications Officer, Eve England, who can speak Welsh.
Very
We
well.
have Homer Frizzell in the Big Apple.
Lieutenant Commander, Homer Frizzell.
TJ, you're
Mr.
killing her.
Mr. Frizzell. I wanted to say, I wanted to give you something fun, like Morale Officer, TJ Jackson-Bey. like Neelix.
Tierney Diekman. And I love Neelix, so thank you.
I love
Oh,
Neelix
Neelix.
too. I love Neelix too. Science Officer, Tierney C. Diekman.
Fuck yeah.
Excellent.
All right. I tried to give everyone positions, but I failed. If it's
Plus,
not what you
round.
want, then switch them around.
That was awesome.
Everyone
You have to apply
can.
for a transfer.
We'll switch them around like trading cards later.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how rate works.
That's how science works. That's how it works.
That's how science works.
Yeah.
TJ, did you realize, TJ, that you reversed Eve? She was
Yes.
Eve Wales out in England. Strike that, reverse it.
Yes, I think that's
the way he rolls.
That's Eve's evil twin.
Why do all twins have to be evil?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
And more importantly, does the evil twin Eve have a goatee? Because that's kind of
obviously.
No glasses.
So, what do you
No
guys think
glasses, but
about
a
this
goatee.
episode, by the way? There were 3 rules of acquisition. I only caught 2 out of the 3, but everybody else got all 3. We got the Horrigon statue. There was also the phage mentioned. We didn't talk about that earlier, but that was really cool. What else did we miss? We'll start with Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy.
Mr. Frizzell.
It's Frizzello. We love
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
We do.
The love is coming from Upper Manhattan to everyone else. I think you probably covered this, but it was really neat to see them explore the transporter and sending around a way too thick piece of pizza.
It was definitely pie.
It was pie.
Oh, pie?
Was it
Question.
pie? I thought it was
It was
pizza.
pie.
Yeah,
I
but
gotta
was
go back
I
and
mean,
look.
It could have been Chicago deep dish.
Was it?
Yeah, that's
pecan
what I
pie?
was thinking. I was like, wow, that's bad taste.
It was definitely. It was. Hey.
Okay, but could it have
It was
been
definitely
pecan pie like in Voyager? So I'm trying to like Google cross section.
right.
Oh, that would be really
like,
cool.
Oh, that might have been
I
another
thought-
cut.
It looks
I thought it looked like
apple.
some sort of apple.
Yeah.
Oh, it was like some
looked
berry.
apple as well.
The
Yeah.
In one
flowers
way,
are
it looked like apple, but then it looked
incredibly
purple.
Okay, but Voyager is a pecan pie show. That's why.
It did, yeah.
Boysenberry.
So-
Boysenberry.
Was,
That was
sounds
Rhubarb.
about
Enterprise.
was it?
Rhubarb.
was
But it had a
boysenberry?
crust
Tullaberry.
on top.
Yeah.
Lawrence, I swear it's not
Okay.
usually like this. Usually we talk
Yeah.
one at a time and are very mannerful.
Yeah.
I watched.
Usually
We're
they-
just
Well,
on
no,
you
this
guys.
is
I know
good,
exactly
Ryan.
how it is.
Usually
Well,
I
I mean,
don't
it is
open up
called
This
such
is a
brief
discussion about
topic.
pie.
Yeah.
Melissa,
think it
you're
was a
correct.
tullaberry
There was a
pie.
crust on top. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah,
There was
TJ.
a crust on top, and
See-
pecan pie doesn't have crust on top.
Some do.
I
I
clearly
Googled
chose
Is
the
it.
wrong
correct.
Zoom background.
She is
Okay.
correct. I'm from Louisiana, where pecan pie is a staple, and they do
Okay.
not have crust on top.
See what you did, Homer?
Okay, well, I Googled
I-
it, and
yeah,
sometimes
was
they do, but I
unintentional.
do think it's apple.
Ah,
I thought it looked like
Something
apple, but I
berry.
thought it looked purple in another scene. So
yeah. Maybe it's multiple pies.
I think it's
See,
wishful
this is
thinking that it's pecan.
Oh,
Yes, it could have been a
Pie
transporter
hybrid.
effect. Yes.
yeah. It's like
Mm.
Republic of Pie. You know, they're just they got all kinds of selection,
Republic of Pie.
and yes,
That's in North
it's all the
Hollywood.
selections. It's a great
That's
coffee
in North
shop that I
Hollywood.
love.
I mean,
I
that's a
go
real
to.
place.
It's
It's
a
a
real
Republic
place.
of Pie.
I walk there and eat pie. So I'm gonna do research for all of you at Republic. I'm gonna go there today, and I will take multiple pictures of all the pies and be like, I have a
we
feeling.
expect you to report back on this.
Yes,
if,
I will.
if you
Yes.
ever need a pie sampling buddy,
We're talking after this. This is
Okay.
happening.
Evil, fly over to North Hollywood right quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lawrence, how did you feel about this episode? Did you love it or what?
I really liked it. I've just been loving Prodigy to begin with. Like, this show, the whole series has just been fantastic. I really enjoyed this. I love that they brought the Ferengi into it. I love that you guys. I was listening to you guys talk about last week's episode, and you were saying how it's finally not only being a great Trek show in its own, but also a gateway to the older series for younger and newer fans. And this episode just continued doing that by bringing in the Ferengi, which was fantastic.
hmm
Also, seriously, the fact that Murph has become their guinea pig now is brilliant.
Let Murph try it. He'll eat anything. Let Murph try it. He'll do
Murph
He's
this.
indestructible.
Murph is like their equivalent of Mikey. Just Mikey, try anything. Put Murph in the transporter. It'll be fine.
What I want to know is how
gonna-
did they find out that he's indestructible? What happened?
He ate the proton
The
torpedoes.
proton grenades
Mhm.
from the last episode.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How did I?
Although,
already
I mean,
that?
Indestructible doesn't necessarily mean, well, it does mean now can breathe in outer space, but
I know.
I suppose yes.
yes, can be exposed to yeah, I love that Murph is like becoming their, like, anytime something happens, is like, let Murph do it.
He might end up being like their savior
Murph
in a
must
lot
suffer.
of cases. It seems like that's where he's going, right? What do you think of Melissa? What do you think of Murph, by the way?
I love Murph. He's so cute. he's a slimy, cute rainbow. But yeah, I love Murph, and he kind of reminds me of the Kenny. You killed Kenny. Of
Of the sub, yeah, because he keeps coming back. Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I love Murph.
Okay. Any thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, great episode. I love the new planet that they first contacted, and it was magical.
Yeah.
The cave was magical, and I love when Gwen said acoustic terra molding. How cool is that? Acoustic terra molding. molding stuff out of sound. That's amazing.
What every musician wish we could do.
No.
Pick up a piano or guitar and be like, oh, I'm going to create my own thing here. Yeah.
How awesome would that be?
Like a 3D printer, but with, playing playing like a Beatles medley.
Yeah. And then communicate with like vibrations and music.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. It's awesome.
Speaking of giving labels to everyone in the beginning of this, I loved how Dal mentioned whenever they were trying to communicate with the aliens, like, oh, Gwen, they called Gwen the communications officer, which means they're starting to label each other. They're starting to put labels and give positions to themselves as an actual crew, which I thought was really interesting. They haven't said out loud what everyone's really, performing as, but it sounds like with Zero, the last episode being in like the medical bay a lot with Gwen, maybe he's taking more of like a healing role, but he also has been on the helm a lot, so I don't know. But you know what I mean? They've been on the helm a lot. But I feel like they're all starting to kind of like come into their own of what they want to be on the ship and what role they want to play. And it looks like Gwen is taking communications officer as her title, which I think is neat.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because last week when they were in the holodeck, I remember after Jacob Pog left, Bell asked the computer to give him a better engineer.
So that's right.
He's the engineer.
Jacob Pog's the engineer on the ship, so they're all taking their positions. Yeah.
Is it my imagination, or is this also the first time that Dahl has actually done a captain's log? Like the start of the episode, like would it open? I don't remember him opening the show.
He did it last episode.
I thought so.
As well?
Did he
did
open the episode with it though?
I think maybe because the episode opened with it, it stood out to me. I was like, oh, he's like starting to self-identify.
Right.
Yeah, it felt right. Exactly.
He did start it last episode because he goes Stardate. Or no, he did start Captain's Log, and he talks about how Janeway's like teaching them different skills, like how to land, how to reverse, stuff like that. I think that might have not been the last episode, but the episode before when they go to the murder planet. I think he started with a Captain's Log. Yeah. Which was a long time ago, before the holidays. So I think he's done one or two since, but they're kind of throwaway. But this one was definitely highlighted.
This one felt like, the beginning of an old TOS episode where the first shot you see is the ship and the first voice you hear is the voice of the captain, the VO from the captain.
Right.
So it stood out to me. I was like, wait, really?
Anne Marie, was this your favorite Captain's Log ever?
Oh, I love all Captain's Logs, so.
Okay.
But it really had me when they said lobling. I love that term of endearment.
Yes.
Lobling.
Good catch.
So cute.
How did you feel about the episode as a whole?
I loved it. I wish the Ferengi, woman who was amazing, hadn't been kind of evil. But otherwise, I totally loved it. And I was also really excited to see a return of Hammocks, just like Jake Sisko.
Oh, yeah. In, what's that?
In like Doll's old room or something. Oh, in
Explorers.
Explorers, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good one. Good thought. Also, by the way, our buddy Don Crandall, thanks for mentioning that, Anne Marie. He said he looked up the name Nandi with Ferengi, and that the Ferengi have a ship that is Nandi class, by the way, but that the ship that she was flying was not a part of the Nandi class.
Wasn't it just like a normal Marauder?
That's what I thought.
Or generic?
Big.
Looked like a Ferengi Marauder to me, but I don't question people that look stuff up. I
want to know so much how women become Damons now. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Melissa has her hand up.
Yes. I'm trying to be
not
just jump in. Is this the first time that we've seen a Ferengi with two names?
Well, Damon is just
more of a
like
title.
Captain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there another name? Yeah, it's Damon Nandi. I don't know if there's more to it.
Was it like Captain of herself though?
Pretty much. Yeah.
And her cube.
Yeah, I'm David in my apartment.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I heard it as a first and last name, so that's why, okay. So
Makes
Nandi.
sense. Well, Eve England with the last name out in Wales. How did you feel about this awesome Wales, Nebraska, by the way?
I actually really enjoyed it. It's a bit weird for me, obviously, because I've only seen episodes 1, 2, and this one, so I need to put on the middle ones. But just taking it entirely based on the first pilot episode, I just really enjoyed it. So I can completely see why everyone's been absolutely raving about it for the last, God knows how many months, because it was just fantastic. I just loved the colours of it. It was very sort of JJ, I thought, in terms of the style and the colours. The music was just beautiful, particularly when they went into that cave and they had those amazing aliens, and that music was just amazing. And I don't know, but the vibes I got from this were just totally Goonies vibes, and especially when they were going down those sand pipes, and I thought, oh, this is just, and they get there and they're, where are we? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's just like that scene where they find the pirate ship. And I could just imagine it being a kid watching it and just being so excited by it. Because I said you had all these different themes and you had all the Star Trek stuff, about the first contact and all of the doing the right thing and then, trying to trust people. But it was all done in a kind of, it just felt different. It felt more accessible, more magical, more fantastical than anything else. And I was really pleasantly surprised by, obviously the first 2 were excellent, but it was good, even not knowing what else has happened, you still really got a sense of who the characters were and where they were going.
I'm a little jealous, Steve. I'm jealous because you get to watch all of those episodes for the first time and you're going, I'm serious. Like, you're in for a real treat. Episodes 3 through 6, I feel like, is just really good. And I feel like you're going to love them. If you loved this episode.
6.
Yeah. Episode 6 is obviously a real highlight, but no, I'm actually kind of jealous. I'm like, oh, she's going to get to watch them all, like, for the first time again.
And I'm just really hoping that they sort out the Paramount Plus thing for us here, because I've got 2 nieces and some goddaughters who I just think would love it. And I just want to be able to buy them a subscription for it. So I'm just hoping it comes out ready for their birthdays next month. So, but
next month.
I hear that they're trying to figure out a way to get it overseas.
Paramount, you've got a month.
Discovery got released, I think, to where they were able to put Discovery up. So I think they're working on Prodigy now. Mm-hmm. It's a bunch of all kinds of things.
Well, Tierney here, how are you? How did you feel about this episode, and have you seen all of them?
I have seen all of them, although I think when Murph ate the torpedoes, it was the one moment that I must have missed. I know there was one episode that I walked out for 30 seconds, and I think that was the one thing that I missed. So I feel stupid asking the question of how did they know he was indestructible? But I loved this episode. It was kind of magical. Yeah. And I was surprised. I found myself far more emotionally invested than I thought I would be. Not really sure going into something new how you're going to feel about it. And sometimes I get that feeling of comfort zone where I just want to watch the same things over and over and over. So starting something new it's a little intimidating. You don't want to sometimes, but I put this on and immediately fell into it with them transporting pie around the ship. Also, Jankum Pa, he's a damn good engineer, like really good with that transporter. Those are some skills, locking on without a comm badge.
I noticed that too.
Yeah. And actually just delivers the crystal. Can I
like right into where it needs
to right into it? I mean, that is some tricky, precise transporter work. But the planet, the animation, the sand, the harmonic resonance, just the reverberations in the sand as they're standing there. And I think we've all seen those videos, on the internet, and Some of us know the science behind it, but just watching that, you get those chills, those the emotion goosebumps, and I was hooked through the whole thing and felt actually even a little silly of why am I feeling so attached to this and to these characters this easily for a children's show. And that also the writing still keeps proving to be amazing. There is no talking down to people because they're kids, no backing off on concepts of science and sociology and ecology. It's beautiful. So just from start to finish, and one line right at the end that sealed it after Nandi. God, and I was so happy to see her as an empowered Ferengi female, clothed and all with her own ship. I was so happy to see that, and then the turn at the end really ticked me off. So they sealed it, that the kind of mood drop you got after all those magical scenes with the gorgeous music and animation and lots of J.J. Abrams lens flares. That that line of Dal, how could she do that to me? I was like a son to her, I think is what he says. And Gwyn says, and I was my father's daughter. And it hits like right in the chest for probably anyone who, at least if you're emotionally invested enough, that's been hurt by someone that they trust. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many kids it would speak to on that level. I'm hoping it would for some, because that's a very isolating feeling, mm-hmm. that they can connect with these characters and connect with what, say, First Contact is, plus obligatory First Contact episode in the Star Trek series, that what it's like to meet new people and how to make connections. And then that when somebody you trust hurts you, betrays you, that you're not alone. And just because they're family, they don't have to be your only family. And all these kind of orphans of the universe all connected together. And it's all just, it's adorable. And I love it so much, far more than I expected to. And every new episode is.
That's a great point. Like the whole chosen family aspect of it, to where, kids who might not be in the best family home, or, maybe even in like something like foster care, something to where they don't feel like they actually have like a family. It shows what a chosen family can be like, with this, with these misfits all working together and choosing to be and trust each other.
Right. Yeah. Well, TJ, Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, you started us off. Take it home for us. We got about a minute left. Any final thoughts?
Oh. All right. I am very interested in watching Gwendala's character grow and the different things that she's tackling. Like last week, she was, decrypting stuff out of the ship's computer. And this week, she's transforming not just a language, but a form of language that they've never encountered before. With this harmonic resonance type of deal, and being able to not only understand that, but respond to it, in a way that allowed them to go forward in their mission. And so I'm really, really interested to see, what direction that growth continues to go in for the communications officer, Gwendala. And I enjoyed this episode very much. And as they were meeting the Ferengi, I'm almost jumping in my seat, like, be a marauder, be a marauder. And it was. I was so happy to see that ship. And so, awesome callback. Love the episode. Can't wait to see the next one.
Awesome. Well, everybody, we do have to run. We're pressed for time today, but for Cirroc, Lofton, Bonnie Gordon, for the coolest guy in the history of guys, Aron Eisenberg, thank you all for joining. And until next time, always remember the seventh rule.